Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar regarding takeoffs and measurements in Bluebeam Revu. What I'll do in a minute, I'll pass you over to my colleague Geoff and he can go over the most common estimation workflows within PDF. If you do have any questions at all, please just pop it in the chat and what we'll do is we'll cover them after the presentation. Someone from your respective country will reach out after the webinar to see if there's anything we can basically help you with. We can do that individually. Just a quick overview, Symmetry is one of 2 partners in Europe with the Bluebeam Platinum Sapphire status. We can also offer training with a skilled consultant within your local language and the market. What I'll do is I'll pass you over to Geoff now and then he can start his presentation. Okay, thanks Geoff.
Thank you very much, Emily. Yes. First of all, introduce myself. My name is Geoff. I'm a technical trainer here for Symmetry. A lot of CAD and of course Bluebeam Revu is a lot of the work I do. I'll talk about myself very quickly there. I was a carpenter on site many years ago. So looking at the way Revu works now, I think to myself, I wish I'd had this a long time ago because I was doing markups on drawings and things were getting in a pickle. And to be perfectly honest, as I move through our review today, I'm thinking this is going to be excellent. So what I'll do, I'll share my screen now and we'll look over some aspects. And like I said, I used to be a carpenter, so I'm going to base myself around what QS for a carpenter would be looking at. So let me just share screen here. Excellent. Thank you very much, folks. So hopefully you can see my screen now, interface of my Bluebeam Revu. My head will be turning to the side, of course, because that's where it is. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking at my screen over on the right-hand side. So first things first, like I said, I used to be a carpenter and I do a lot of training now on AutoCAD. And one of the areas, the direct areas that people are asking me as an AutoCAD user is things like viewports and things like this. You know, viewports, what are viewports and what's happening? So what I'll do here, I'll actually bring, instead of using this drawing for the moment, I'm going to come directly into a drawing I create as a carpenter and trainer here. And immediately we notice that I've started up this drawing here, and this is a little message that invariably happens in Bluebeam Revu when you import a PDF directly from something that's created like AutoCAD. And this is talking about viewports, you see. So I deliberately made this drawing as part of my class actually, and it's got actually 3 viewports in it. It's got a 1 to 50 there for the overall of my view here. I've actually got a 1 to 1 here for some detailing and a 1 to 10 here. So everybody asking me within Bluebeam what we need to do about that, because essentially people are saying, well, the document contains untitled viewports which may interfere with the collaboration or measurement. What would you like to remove them? Now the message itself sounds like, oh, I better not remove anything. I better keep it. But the point is we do want to take away. Those are AutoCAD viewports. So in other words, they're like windows from the paper into the model. So I would actually say, would you like to remove them? I'm clicking yes here. So essentially what I have here is straight away I'm into the sheet, the drawing. Now, if I wanted to create some viewports now or to collaborate on this particular type of drawing, I could come over to my collaborations here, on my measure command here, collaborate here, and create a viewport myself for this work. Just before I do that, I just wanted to mention that my interface here, we have profiles, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But generally speaking, I've made a profile for us for our webinar, so that I'm not got blinding a lot of icons all over the place. So in this one here, like I said, I could just create a new little viewport in here. This is really nice. So for example, viewports, I can plus viewport here and select a square region to define a viewport. So I find this actually quite useful. I've had, especially for people that using AutoCAD and such like. So I click on OK here, and then basically that is going to be, I know that's a 1 to 50, so I can jump in there to do a complete 1 to 50. I could actually customize it or say, well, actually that's a 1 to 50. So even overtype that and say this is my my kitchen overall, and I know that it's at 1 to 50. So I'm going to just drop that down to a 1 to 50. Precision, because I'm in millimeters, I don't necessarily need to go to 2 decimal places. So I would just pop that back and just go to rounding off at one decimal place there. And so if I click on apply there, now you can see that we have a viewport here. It mentions it here, kitchen overall, and it's got a value here. So for example, if I do come over to do any measurements in here now, you'll see that if I click on my length, the length there, and I can hover, and then I can quickly get my dimension in here like this. So 6,500 millimeters, I know that's what it is. So that actually is a very quick way of working there. So I can do the same, to be honest, very quickly, pop down here and do another one on here. Like I said, this is a rather ambiguous drawing, because I wouldn't have this like this on many drawings. But the point is that I can quickly make a new viewports, or more like view scaling views. So this one, and I know that's actually at 1 to 1. So that's at 1 to 1 there. And once again, precision, maybe bring that down, of course, like this. So I'll apply that. So this is exactly the same again now. So I've got my kitchen overall and my detail there. So if I come over to my length measurement again, you can see that it flags up that I've got viewport showing here. So it knows that if I'm going to take off any measurements in here, I'm talking about a particular detail in here. So for example, obviously in here to there. Now that's in, I've just missed that there. That's in, there we go, like this. So I've got that set to 100 mil, and that one there is 6,500. So even my principal drawing that I've done in my CAD training is useful as well. So the point of view about the viewport, so to speak, is that I'm really flattening the drawing, and then I'm assigning some areas myself. So if I jump over to the drawing I had a moment ago, this one that we using for the demo, etc. The reason why I wanted to flag this one up is because this particular drawing is imperial. You look here and we've got 30 foot there. Now, for me as a carpenter from years ago, if I'm honest, I used to work in feet and inches as well. But now, obviously, a lot of our edits and design and drafting and obviously construction is metric. So if I look at this now, we could do the same process of calibration here, or to create the calibration. So we've got various sizes here. If I know that the sizes, these scales are listed here, I could use that as a calibration, or if we had any scale bar or something like that in there. Now, if I go back to my early days, once again, as being a carpenter, for example, I would have to work between, in my drawings, I have to work between my grid lines. Now, if the drawing has grid lines in, I go back to my days, and if I was fitting geometry, fitting doors, fitting skirtings, or fitting walls or whatever, timber in my project, I would always have to refer to a distance from a grid line. So a grid line was always my point of truth all those years ago. So what I could do here for this at the moment, I can calibrate this and say, well, actually this drawing is actually in imperial, but I actually draft in metric now. So for example, I have on my measure tools here, measurements here, I can calibrate here, you see. So at the moment, if I click on the calibration, I can define and say, well, that's a given distance of 30 foot between the grid lines. So for example, I calibrate this. If I didn't have grid lines, or obviously other things would be useful, but personally myself, when I've done any sort of calibration, I try to look for the biggest defined dimension that I can, because it makes the accuracy much better. So if I click on calibrate here, it says select 2 points of a known dimension. So I click OK here. So at the moment, if I select this point here and this point there, you can see that it's telling me that the pages, I can use all the pages that in this scale this one is talking about 3.4. I want this to be in millimeters. So this 3.74 inches is 30 foot there, 30 feet. Now, what you'll notice is that I'm still talking in imperial, but later on, if I leave the precision at 0 and I apply that scale, because I'm creating a measurement in here like this, I'm actually running my measurements in millimeters. So even though I've set my scale based on an imperial measurement, I'm actually working in millimeters. So therefore, if I looked at a measure command here now, and I went from the same place here, you can see that would be giving me a metric measurement there of 9,144 millimeters, which essentially is 30 foot. Now, this is where I find it very useful indeed when I'm using some of these drawings. I've actually done it with quite recently with drawings that are coming from heritage and restoration of historic buildings, and a lot of these measurements are actually they're drawn in imperial measurements. So from that point of view, we've got measurements that we can set up here for various concepts. Now, I'll just jump back over to this side here now. Obviously now I've created the calibration of this drawing, and on my drawing of the AutoCAD drawing a moment ago, I actually did some viewports in here, but this one now gives me the size that I want. I'm using the millimeters here, and it's an imperial drawing. So if I jump back over to look at the concepts here in my review, I've got my file access here, and I mentioned a second ago that we do have views here. So if I look at profiles here, you can see that I've got different profiles. I'm not going to look into developing profiles for us today. I'm just basically saying that they will exist. The reason why I say that is because a lot of the clients that we're working with now have got particular needs, and I'm very keen to support in a workflow situation. So I'm one of the trainers anyway. So if you look to come to training on Bluebeam Revu, you might be unfortunate enough to have me as your trainer. So I tend to look at the workflows that we would have. So I create I create profiles relevant to what we're doing. I've created a profile here for our webinar, you see, and so that involves all of my features along here. And then also down here, there's my file access there, little one down there, little icon there called a tool chest. Once again, being a carpenter, tool chests are important, right tools for the right job, that type of thing. So if I bring down to this tool chest here now, you can see that we've got my recent tools, but I've also got some profiles set up for some of the work I want to do. For example, I've got some areas I'm going to put in for carpets, parquet floors, this type of thing. And I've also, for a count, I've made a place to count for my fire doors, if I'm fitting my fire doors, this type of thing. So looking at my project here now, we see clearly I've got these set up here so that these are various areas. So for example, I've got a poly lens here, areas as well. So under the tools here for measure, lots of tools for measure, we've got those created here. They exist, of course, and then I can make them into my profiles, put them into profiles. So like I said, it's very easy to create profiles. If you need any help on that, let me know, of course. And if we want to do any specific demos for your industry, also let me know, and we can develop that as a demo for you. Absolutely no problem. So if we look at my views here now, you can see if I wanted to, I've set one up for carpet here. So if I have a carpet, if I select a corner here, sorry, let me do that again. If I select a corner here, click and then hold down, I can drag all the way over to this corner here. And you'll see that I've got a value put in there at 9 square meters. It's showing you there 9 square meters. And that's because that's a simple rectangular project there. You'll notice that with the now that if I, oops, you can see that as I've got it selected now, its properties are showing up here. So little things like the style, the color, fonts, and so on are all showing up here. So these are pre-made for us for this particular carpet. You'll also see here quite easily that the 9 square meter there that's popping up there. I've got over here, I've got a precision again here. So this is talking about square meters. So possibly this one would be, I would change that to 2 decimal places there. So I got 9.3 square meters because obviously a square meter is pretty big. If I move over onto there, you see it seeing quite literally there yourself now. If I hold down, hold down the shift, you can see that I can now see that I've got options inside. I could just move that away from there like that. You'll notice in review that using the shift key is very useful, as is the right click on the mouse with review. So many features can be found by just holding down the shift or indeed right clicking on there. So we've got that view there. Now if I come over to say a different room here and I wanted to put some, say, parquet in there, a parquet floor in here, for example, I could do the same again, but this time if I actually, instead of holding down instead of dragging the rectangle, I can literally just place myself around here. But if I move all the way down to here, say for example here, you can see that I can get to the before it curves. So I need to figure out what we do here. So I will just press there and then go diagonally across the curve there, and then I can do the same to here, and that will give me this area as well. But of course, as you see, I've just gone across the corner there. So classically, if I have it selected like this, once again, you can see there's some little grip marks here. If I right click on here, I can convert that to an arc. Right click, convert to an arc. So what I do like about this feature here is that there are a lot of tools that we can use for those obscure shapes and sizes when we're taking off our measurements here. So for this exercise, I'm just looking at this one and seeing that this gives me these nice Bezier curves, as they're called. So I can move these Bezier curves in and out to adjust the curve on there. And once I've done that curve, of course, it will also then update my measurement that's coming there. So once again, maybe I come over to here, hold down shift, I can just move that, put that in there like this. So a lot of measurement can be done here. And of course, like I said, the measurements we're creating, I can have other standards, I can have precision, of course, and so on. So this is, this is a really useful way. Now, as I said, if I'd had this a long time ago, this would have been an excellent way forward. So, for example, if I move over to this one here, you can see that I've got some poly length here. So, for example, if I'm talking about skirting and things like this, I can put the skirt in there, like this type of thing in here, like this. And you can see that I have on here, I've got a dimension there of the complete area of, sorry, the complete perimeter length of the skirt in this type of thing. So we can look at that as well. I could actually right click on here and we've got the lovely item of a split here. So if I wanted to just split that out and take away that part and stuff like that, I could do that. So I could have the split there and take this measurement, that measurement, and that measurement. You see what I mean? So these are all actually, as we're moving forward, they're all being collated into my measurements down here, into this values down here that we will extract in a moment. So very often we can, I think it's very useful for us to utilize these measurements. And like I said, I'm leaving these letters, numbers and text quite big at the moment, so you can actually see it on screen. But of course, if I wanted to change these values on this, for example, I can change the sizes here, the line, and even move down here, take the lines down to have less transparency, quite useful like that. And also the size of the line here, we can just bring the lines down like that. So these values are clearly all change. If I looked at the measure command again, for example, if I come over to one of these other offices here and I just simply, come over to a measure command here, and obviously just generally measure from here to here, you can see that I've got a measurement there, 5,000 so-and-so millimeters there. For me personally, I would leave that precision, because on metric, I leave it like that to 5,974 millimeters. Another thing I tend to do with my markups within my world of carpentry is that I wouldn't really have a strong arrow there. I tend to put that as an oblique marker on both ends of my dimension. That way I know that it's a markup and it's actually from my world. It's just basically my history of using that type of markup. So that really is really useful tool for this. Another area that I've spoke about when I'm working with my joinery and carpentry, obviously one of the areas I used to do a lot of was fire doors and things like this. So very often I'd want to make a count of items. So for example, on this, it's not actually correct, but if I was to use and say, well, this particular area in my building, the site is saying, well, this particular area here is going to be a containment of a 2-hour containment in this area. So there's going to be a change going on. So it's actually, I need to create this entire area needs to have a containment of 2-hour door. So I would actually use my count measurement. I could either use a count from over here, or I can develop my count measurement, pop that here, and I can put my 2-hour here. I can do it individually like this: 2-hour door, 2-hour door, 2-hour door, a 2-hour door, and a 2-hour door, like that. So essentially I'm really looking at just placing in on my markup the 2-hour doors that have been changed. So I've got my nice containment. We can do other markups as well, and of course we can do searches in here. So for example, I can search for text, for example, in a markup, or indeed just before I do that, let me just jump in here and actually look at a simple built-in markup here, or count. I can click on markup here, and then I can add in whatever. So for example, if I'm just adding in, there's a toilet here and a toilet here, this type of thing, and there's another one there. I can add those in as a method there, but as soon as I finish that command, you can see that will list those in here. The count measurement is coming down here, which is rather nice. So we can do that. I can then actually right click on there, and I can actually continue with that measurement there, resume the count. So if I wanted to resume the count, it's like, oh, there's more putting in there, I can put that in there, or indeed create a new count. So if I wanted to resume a count, I've started to do counts. For example, like I said, if I was back in this concept here and there's a review change in that, oh, wait a minute, I've got the doors there that have 1-hour fire door. I need to increase that and say, instead of those doors being 1 hour, I've got to add another 2 in there because we've got some changes in the fire regulation and so on. So this type of thing is very useful, that I can not only create a new count, but I can edit an existing count. So once again, the count, I think it's rather nice. Now, the other count I've done here, if I jump over very quickly to here, you can see that I've got various offices and meetings. I could actually do very quickly in here for us, if I did a text and looked at meeting like this, and then did a search for meeting, you can see it will flag up all of the meetings I've got, the text called meeting. So in its simplest form, I could just pick all of those up here. So I select them all like that. And then even on here, click on the check options, and I could have, I could apply a count to that as well. So meetings, click on my meetings there, and then I've got a meetings applied there. So we're really doing really well here in that I can start to pick up so many bits and pieces just straight away, and the way that we can collaborate and communicate this is extremely quick. Like I said, I'm saying this from being an old joiner point of view, that very often when I would get a drawing, if I had a drawing, I could see these updates and changes very quickly. So lastly, with that. I could do the same with Office there as well. But lastly for us here, I want to just look down. As you can see, as this has been building up here, all of the processes that we've been doing. So for example, lastly, I would suggest that I could then export this out, and this is really useful as well. So very briefly there, I would click on an export here, and I can export to a PDF summary. What I like about the PDF summary here, to be honest, is you'll see that if I click on PDF summary here, I can then look at append here and highlight and hyperlink to the current PDF. So what's really nice is that even this article here, I can actually have the output appended as a PDF to my particular drawing. And so there's my exporting too. But if I click on overwrite, not overwrite there, append hyperlink. So click on OK there. So processing that, looks at that. And then you can see that I've got the hyperlinked here. Now, if I come over here to my thumbnails, you'll see that I've got the drawing here, and now we've got our plan here. So we've got our PDF here. So for example, I zoom in here because it's hyperlinked or hyperlunk. I don't know if that's the right word there. I've got a link here. So if I left click on here, jumps over to that link in the drawing there, which is rather nice. So for example, if I scroll down here to come onto this one here, where I've done my count measurement, for example, it'll zoom into there. So that's really useful as well. Of course it is, in that once you're doing with a lot of your markups here, once you create, this is a very short one here, but when you create quite a comprehensive review of your project, that is really useful. And one added extra for that little component is that we don't necessarily need a copy of Bluebeam Revu to actually do that, because that's a principle. That's basically just a hyperlink. So there's a few items there on creating that. So we could also, if I come back to my project here very quickly, the same process again. I could jump out here and click on a CSV summary. So I can send this out to my spreadsheet. So if I click on CSV there, and then I got some parameters in here, but if I just click a straightforward OK there, what it will do, it will just start up my current spreadsheet application. And in this case, of course, it's Excel. And then we've got all of the components showing up in here as well. So that works very effectively. So that dynamic link there will work as well. I won't save that for the moment, actually, but that's how that would work. Now, very lastly, and I'll let you get on, is that, as I said, the review has a lot of profiles in here. So I've got some clients talking to us about creating profiles, and of course we can do that with you, help you do that. But if I just went back to the original view, the original review here, you'll see that there's a lot of information on here. We've got a lot of tools, and so I didn't want to overview it today. I was looking at showing you a little bit of a taste, a little bit of an idea, and you can see that the default has a lot of stuff going on, especially with the toolbox here. So we're looking at, I created some edits called Geoff's Edits, and I got all the recent tools are in there and so on. But I did create a profile for our webinar today, which is a little bit of cleaned up version. So I'm actually going to say thank you very much there. I've waffled on for a good half an hour there. So I'm going to say to Emily, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Geoff, for that. That was really great.
I'll stop my sharing now then.
Yeah, like I said previously, if anyone does have any questions, please pop them in the chat and then we can follow that up after this individually, and we'll be reaching out to each and every one of you at some point just to kind of touch base regarding this webinar. But I think that's it, if you're happy with that, Geoff.
Yeah, like I said, if anybody's got any questions, please don't hesitate to shout, give me a shout, because one of the things I've found, and I'll be honest with anybody that's using Revu, is that it is such a versatile tool, to be honest. And I like to look at workflows, not just feature sets. So if you want to contact me even and say, look, Geoff, I saw the video there. It's flagged up so many little questions. We tend to do this. We tend to do that. What do you think? No problem at all. Give me a shout and we'll sort it out. I only used the concept of being a carpenter there because I was a carpenter, and I could see the benefits that if that would have been available all those years ago, it would have really been a time saver and therefore money saver. No, thank you very much, Emily.
No worries at all. Thanks, Geoff. Thanks everyone for joining, and hope you all have a lovely weekend.